Denise here, founder of Photography101. I've created a video for photography, composition. Composition. What makes a photograph good or bad? The answer to this question relies heavily on the composition of the photos. Composition is not to be mistaken as a set of rules. Rather, they're ingredients that you can use to improve your photography. After learning these, not only will be able to elaborate on why you like a photo, you will also be able to use them in your own work. Rule of thirds. Rule of thirds, there are two ways to go about this. One way would be dividing the image into 3 parts, making for a more interesting and balanced image. For example, if you had a photograph where you're on a beach, you take a photograph, instead of just the sunset and the water, it could be 3 parts: the sunset, the water, and the sand. It can also be dividing the image into a 3x3. So you can see. Using this, you place your subject close to a point of interest, or one of the red dots. Take note that you do not need to follow this. It just helps add interest to your photo. So you can see from the bunny's eye, it's placed near one of the points of interest, making the image much more interesting than it would be were it just in the center. The S-curve. One element in photography that attracts the eye is the S-curve. Sometimes it's in obvious patterns such as roads or water. However, it could be a little harder to notice in subjects such as the bird in the example below. You can see the curve of the neck produces the S-curve. The picture above is very common, the bending of the water creating the S-curve. Lines. Lines in general create a sort of path for the eye to follow. Since you read a photograph from left to right, it can help guide the eye effortlessly through the image. It can be any continuous set of lines: parallel, horizontal, vertical. As you can see from the first image on this slide, the lines from the architecture guide you from the first statue all the way to the end. The picture below, it feels like you're going into the vanishing point. All the lines from the tracks to the ceiling lead you to the center. Geometric shapes. In addition to lines, geometric shapes also add interest to a photo. Circles and triangles especially add excitement for the eye. As you can see in this example, there are the spheres in the water that lead you to the back of the image. There's also the Ferris wheel, one big circle on the image. Not only are there geometric shapes on this one, but the Ferris wheel also contains a nice variety of lines leading you into that center geometric shape. Framing. Framing includes adding emphasis to parts of the image by using naturally occurring frames. This may include doorways, window frames, trees, or even other people. As you can see from the first example, the wooden planks are framing the subject's eyes, so automatically you're drawn into his eyes. In the second image, the subject is using her fingers to frame her face, which works really well. You pay attention immediately to her face. Avoid mergers. Something you want to avoid is a merger. It distracts from the actual subject. A photograph is an image of a 3D world on a 2D surface. So you want to be aware of poles sticking out of your subject's head or a car hitting your subject. As you can see from the don't image, the subject is fine. However, if you look closer, the tube on the ceiling looks as if it were sticking out of the boy's head, so it really distracts from the photograph you want to produce. Of course, rules are sometimes meant to be broken. There are occasions when mergers actually produce a more interesting image. From the do example, you can see that the perspective on a 2D surface changes dramatically, so much so that it looks like the boy is eating the man. You can play with mergers, get creative, but unless you intend for them to be more composition tips. Fill the frame. Don't be afraid to get close to your subject. If there's anything that is unimportant to your photo, zoom in to your subject. Do not center every single photo you take. It's a bad habit to get into. You want to try playing around with different angles. You could even try tilting the camera to get more creative. Avoid any writing that could distract the viewer from your subject, unless you intend for them to be there. It could be clothing brands, anything of the sort. Subjects in threes or odd numbers make for interesting shots. For example, 3 dogs is more appealing to the eye than 4 dogs. Okay, I've provided 4 photographs for you to use to practice your composition tools. Describe each image using the elements you've learned. I hope that this video has proved helpful. If you have any questions, contact me at wix.com/droke94/photography101.